Hey everyone, I have just made it. I said between 2 and 3 and I am like 3 o'clock on the dot for me. So welcome, very impromptu again, not our regular time slot, but I'm going to get back into our regular schedule so you'll know that when I'm popping up. But today we are going to be creating a little bit of a watercolouring card. This is about the 5th time I've made this card, I think, so this will be the last time that I make it. I promise myself. I just love it so much. While everyone's coming in, just a few things that I've got going on my blog. I haven't got any pretty little graphics today because I'm, spur of the moment type of thing. But over on my blog, I am doing my paper share and ribbon share for the new catalogue. So go and check that out. And I will also be doing a new colour ink pad club thing as well, and I will be advertising that very shortly. So there's 21 new and returning ink pads and colours, and that includes the new ink colours as well. So I will have all the details up about them very, very shortly. Hi Sherry, hi Lois, hi Leanne. Okay, so I'll get to that in a little bit, but I have a giveaway for, where's my camera? I have a little giveaway for today's live because I'm jumping on at not my regular scheduled time. So we want to get the word out there to as many people as possible that I'm on and messing everybody around. So I have got here a Sparkled Textures embossing folder to give away randomly. So you can share, mention that you've shared, comment with me, and you know the drill, we used to do them before. So I have got one of them to give away to one random person, and at the end of the weekend I will pick a name and get in touch with someone. My door is opening. Who might that be? Child, what would you like? Cake. Yes, go and have some cake. There's a couple of pieces left. Excuse me, it's what happens when you're on the weekend, isn't it? I think I did mention to them that I was going live. Maybe not. Okay, I'm just going to get my Stampin set up. Let us get our camera swung around. Hi Kayla, here. Hi Kiralee. Thanks for sharing, Kiralee. That's awesome. Everyone can go in the draw to win that prize. Okay, so let me switch to my other camera and we can get started. So this is the card that we're making, and I think I have made it a few times already. And so this is it. Find my bearings here. Whoa, I seem to be back to front a lot today. So that's the one that I did for my blog, and excuse my little boo-boo up there, just ignore that. And then we made it again at Link and Learn with a different sentiment and just a thicker baker's twine and just white pearls instead of the coloured ones. So that is what we're going to be creating today. It's been a long time since I've watercoloured like that, and I really do enjoy it, so I'm going to get back into it. So being watercolouring, we are using our nice thick watercolour paper and the Share What You Love, Love What You Do stamp set, because there's so many different components to this suite. Now, when I do this, I have discovered that moving the plate here along doesn't work for this particular image. So what I am going to do is stamp this image first on the right hand side, and then I will actually move my card and keep my image on my plate. So I will show you what I mean. I've got another stamp down here because I'm in the middle of making cards as well. Link and Learn is, I go there once a week on a Wednesday. Let me just explain what I'm doing first and I'll explain what Link and Learn is. So I'm just using my Stampin spot in black and I'm just going to ink up, so that didn't take much. So Link and Learn is, it's run by our Uniting Church here in Port Lincoln, and it's been going for, well, I've been going for 17 years, and it has been running for something like 30, I think. I think they had their anniversary this year or last year, and I'm going to double ink these two, by the way. and they have a volunteer to do all sorts of crafts, and then we stay at a craft for each term, and then we have a registration day and a sign-up day and that type of thing, and you can go and do whatever craft a volunteer is offering. So that didn't stamp too well. I think I must have shifted that. You know what? I'm just going to turn that over. Hope you don't mind. I'm going to actually re-ink this, I think, because they're so tiny. They seem to dry out pretty quick. So there's loads of card making, different types of cards at Link and Learn. There's knitting, crocheting, sewing, painting, which I would love to do one day. I'm going to remove myself as a teacher and do a craft one day. There used to be wood burning, there's beading, there's all sorts of crafts. So whatever anybody's willing to volunteer is, now I'm really juicy. Whatever anybody's willing to volunteer is great. So of course I do stamping. Kiralee, that little archival black ink, it is archival, is from the one of the stamping kits, the one with the really pretty, see look now I don't have to do a re-inker of that one, the really pretty one with the coloured pencils and stuff in it. Most of those little kits will have a black spot, so they are easier. Now what I'm going to do is scoot that along, and I'm going to do the one on the left hand side now. I'm not putting it down all the way because it'll be just my luck that it's not where I actually want it to be. So now that I've got that down, yes, I teach card making. So, and I provide them a kit and I provide all the materials. They do pay me, I think I charge them a small amount because I can't charge for my time, so I just charge them for cardstock and embellishments and that type of thing, and we make 2 cards. We make 2 cards a week, but they have to make what they're told. They don't get a choice in the matter. Like there's a few tables there that they just take whatever they want and make their own thing, but with my table, they have to do what I tell them to do. So I'm lucky that they trust me because usually I don't even have any idea of what we're making. So now I'm going to do the middle block, the middle flower. And that way I've got all my flowers lined up evenly. And I probably do overkill with the pressure there. Now, you probably saw my video of this delightful chamois. And you can tell it's a chamois because it's squeaking. I wonder if it'd clean my car as nice as it cleans my blocks. Okay, so that is the first part done. I'm just going to put that back in its holder. And I can pop that away. So I'm just going to bring that in again. So if you're jumping in, don't forget, comment, share, all that sort of stuff, and I'll pick a winner at random to win the sparkle textured embossing plate. So now I am going to be using my aqua painter, and I've got sweet sugar plum that I'm going to be doing first. The device that I'm using there is the new Stamparatus. Oh, I need some paper toweling. That's the new Stamparatus that will be available in the new catalogue in June, and it is awesome. Very, very awesome. All right. So the first colour that I'm laying down is going to be some sweet sugar plum. And don't forget that this colour is on its way out. So if you love this colour, and it also matches really well with the rich razzleberry and the blackberry bliss that is coming back. Okay, so if you want some little monochromatic stuff going on, grab that. Okay, now because I'm using in watercolour and I'm using my water, then your black needs to be an archival black or a StazOn so that your water doesn't bleed everywhere. Your black doesn't bleed. And I'm just chucking down. Do you want me to get closer so you can see my colouring? Let's try that. Shift me up there. And so I'm just sort of throwing the colour down here. Apologies if it takes a while, and apologies if I stop talking, because I tend to only be able to, for some reason, colour without talking. All right, so there's my first colour down. Now, the next colour I'm picking up is my Rich Razzleberry. Now, when I pop this one down, I like to keep a fairly intense, like I don't like to water this colour down. Now I'm going to see whether I can get a little bit closer. All right, I do like my brush to be a little bit damp, like you can, I don't know whether you can see that's too damp for me. Okay, so I'll just wipe that off a little bit, and when it just glistens without actually putting any water, that is where I like my brush to be. So you can just see the water glistening on my hand. So that's when I normally start to pick up and I try and stay within, so rather than like just, you know, zoom it everywhere and pick it up, I just try and pick up that intense colour. Okay, and then it's just a matter of, see, even there it's probably just a little bit too wet still. So I've continually got my, I can't fit it all in, but I've continually got my tissue there that I can wipe off. And then I brush off and come in. So I apologise if I end up not talking. This is, Lois, this is watercolour paper. Shimmer works just as nicely, but I think for the type of look that I was after, I definitely would go for the watercolour paper. And the flower, Kathy, is beautiful. I'm actually casing my own card. I did this layout a few years ago, and I used it was completely different colours and different flowers, but the colouring and the layout itself is very similar. So now if you wanted to, you can actually come in a little bit darker in some of those areas, just for a bit more depth. So, and I know that this will probably take a little while. Normally I will have done some stuff off screen, but I thought you might like to watch the whole lot for something different, because I don't normally make a whole entire card. So, and I love with the watercolour paper, I love that you can just keep adding, just keep adding colour until you get the depth you want, so you don't get any of that pilling. You can use a blender pen. I prefer, when I'm watercolouring, to use an aqua painter, just because I've got a little bit more control. I think I like the look. Hey, Tina. And another one. Okay, one more set to go. So who's going to be watching? Do I talk about it? Do I not talk about it? Are you sick of seeing it? Who's watching the royal wedding? I probably will end up watching it. I wouldn't call myself a royalist, but Princess Diana was always a favourite. I had a scrapbook album of her when I was little. So, but I'm only probably going to watch it because my husband's away at the moment. Otherwise, there's no way I would be watching it. Hey, Karen. And my boys, I know that they won't be in the lounge room with me. They'll just be down playing their computer games. So I don't have to worry about them either. The stamp set that I am using is the Love What You Do stamp set. So the new one that's on early release. Whoop, I can't fit it all in, so I'll just go like that. So that's the one that we're using there. So I must admit, that movie about them that came on the other night, and I got hooked watching it. I so sad, and I went to bed way too late. Okay, so there's the first part. I've got my flowers all done. Now what I'm actually going to do next is to do some sponging, and then I will come back with the rest of the watercolouring. So I'm going to sponge around, oh, of course, I only watched a little bit of Suits. I didn't really get into it. I don't know whether she was actually in it when I was watching it. So I'm just going to sponge around the outside of my card. I think that's fairly well dry. And you'll notice, you can't see what I'm doing. There we go. I'll zoom back in after. So you'll notice that when I dip in the ink pad, and I've got my little wedge here and I've got my little soft suede tag on there, I will always pat it off on my scrap paper before I put it onto my card. And that way, if I've got, like, it sort of just avoids that harsh, you know, sometimes when you put it in there and you've actually got too much ink on your sponge. So we just want to go around. That's probably enough. So that just sort of warms it up a little bit and come around. Okay, so that's the next part. That gives us our little bit of a vintagey look. Okay, I still need that one. All right, the next step is our crumb cake. So, and I need to give this a really good squeeze because it's so light. And it doesn't really give a lot of ink on your palette, or it could just be that I've got a dry ink pad. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in again. And for this one, I'm just going to do another light wash. So I will squeeze I don't want it to be overly wet, but just because it's a wash in the background, I will wet it a bit. And that's just going to come under and around. So just be mindful of your rich raspberry because you don't want to spread that. So that's just going to wash all around. I'm not sure whether that's picking it up. I'll show you again in a moment. So you don't want it too watery because then you don't get any colour. But you want it enough so that it just leaves a bit of a watermark. I don't know whether you can see that. I think the issue with some watercolouring is just that you just get too much water going on. Alright, you're just going to be careful there. Okay, so that's just left, sort of just takes the harshness, I don't know whether you can, I think you can see, just sort of takes the harshness out of the colour and gives a bit of a dirty, yeah, like a shadow, a bit of a dirty look. Okay, so next I'm going to come in with my soft suede. And this is where I sort of do want it to look a bit shadowy. So I'm only going to put it underneath the flowers, the flower heads, and maybe a little bit down the side. So again, I just want my aqua pen to be a little bit, not too, like I don't want it gushing water. And then I'll just pick up those colours. And because it's not, I mean, it looks like a dark ink pad, but when you get it watercolouring, it's not too bad. So just going to sort of go around almost in the same areas. And then what I like to do is come back with like a real darker patch and then just go right underneath to give it a bit more shadow again. And a little bit more down under here. And down the stem a little bit. So you can sort of see that shadow starting to form, and you can go back and add, like if you want it a little bit deeper, and because by keeping it underneath those flowers area is sort of where it sort of almost pulls the flowers out of the card, if you know what I mean. I'll have to go and show you my original card, the one that I'm casing myself of. Because I think I did it with, I know that there was mint macaron, the taupe, and may have been the watermelon colour. So, alright, so just keeping that under there. And just down one side. So if you can imagine like sunshine coming from this direction, we sort of want shadows on this side. Sort of like a vintagey feel to it. And then again, just go a bit darker right underneath, close to that stamped line. So, and then you can, like if it's too harsh, if it's got too much of a line for you, just blend it out. Okay, last one. So I'm not sure, oh, okay. I was going to keep an eye on the time, but you know what? If you guys are happy to sit and watch, I'm happy to colour in. So, and at least you'll get a real good idea of how it's done if I've got to do it 3 times, huh? Yeah, a little bit down the side. And then again, right underneath. And of course, when it all dries and settles, it's completely different again. Okay. And if it gets a little bit dry, just pop a little bit more water through, not a huge amount, like don't let it drip everywhere. Okay, so that is that. Let me pull out again. So now when you're looking at it from a distance, you can really see that those flowers have really almost like a 3D type of look going on there. Okay, so the next thing, and I know that this is probably going to seem like a bit of a waste of that gorgeous, gorgeous paper, but considering you only see a tiny bit of it, but I love it, and I'm determined that I am cutting my paper and I'm using it. So I am using a base of rich razzleberry, and the colours just tie in so beautifully. So I'm going to be adhering it to a piece of the, what's this paper called? It's from the Share What You Love suite, so it's probably called Share What You Love paper, I'm pretty sure. It's from this set, and yes, Share What You Love. So I'm determined, there's loads more paper in here than what you normally get. We get 3 or 4 sheets, 4 sheets of each design in this one. So there is oodles and oodles and oodles of cardstock. So you can use it and not have to worry about running out of it. So if you really wanted to keep a piece of paper for yourself, you can. What am I looking for? My snail. And the other thing, and you've probably seen all the pearlized flowers on it. The other thing is that this is actually more like a card than a paper. I know, my love, aren't they gorgeous? These have been on for a week now. Love them. So, and they match. Look at that. We're all matchy-matchy, so that's why I love them, because they all match. Even my glitter, my little bits of glitter in my glittery one matches the colour coming out of this one. So, with this particular piece of card, I'm going to use a lot of snail because it is a little bit damp. And I don't want it to buckle. So I do use a fair bit. Okay, so I don't know whether these little things go up or down, but I'm putting them up like grass. So I'm just going to pop it so that I've got more. I've only got a tiny little bit at the top and more of it down the bottom. And I'm not going to go like I did last week and smudge everything. So first layer is onto that one, which matches it so beautifully. And the next one, of course, is my beautiful, beautiful, I love this one. Out of the whole packet, I love this one. So that's the other side. So I'm assuming that the stripes should go sideways, but we're going to use them the other way. So we're going to use them up and down, and we're going to do the same thing. So again, I'm going to use lots of snail, just because I don't want to wait for that piece of cardstock to dry. I don't want it to stick. Okay, so once again, we're only going to show a tiny amount at the top and then slightly more down the bottom. And then I know that you don't really get to see very much of that paper, that design, but I think it's just enough to pull the colours together, if you know what I mean. Like, it's just enough to pick everything up. So the next thing, you can use either your white baker's twine, which I'm going to in this one, so you'll be able to see the difference. This, which I'm almost out of, can you believe? This is from the embellishment kit, and then this one is the baker's twine. So you can actually see how different in thickness those two are. This is like a real cotton, so rather than a twine, which is really pretty. Okay, oops, lost my sticker, my sticky tape. So I'm going to wrap this around twice and attempt to tie a bow. I can tie bows, but because I'm live, I probably won't be able to. It's always the issue. It's always the case. It just, you know, must be one of those things. Oh, look, Alisa's live. Let's do something that will stuff her up. So I'm going to trim that off. And I will trim it back here. So I've done right, over left, and come under. Okay, so I've got top and bottom. And then put my finger on it, and then I go bottom over top and pull. And that gives me my knot. Okay, I'm going to zoom in for you here. All right, so that gives me my knot. I'm going to scooch that across to the other side now and get that where I want it. Maybe. Okay, tying bows. I don't have to worry about putting my finger on it now. So loop around, and then rather than go across the front of it, I come around the back and then through the loop that way. Ta-da! Okay, and then you can put your finger on the knot and just pull. And that one, I think I need to pull a little bit more because it wants to flip the wrong way. There we go. So there's your bow, and then you just keep tightening, and you can have that as long as or short as you want. Okay, so that is that part done, and I will be using some dimensionals when I can find them. Here they are. I'm still using the edges. Still using the edges. All right, put my good put my good scissors away, get my old ones out. Hey, Leslie. All right. So, popping some of this on. All right. One in the middle. I turned my heater on in here because I've been that cold. I pinched my son's school jacket. They've got really nice thick school jackets. So I pinched that from him and I've been wearing it and I thought, oh, well, I can't wear that while I'm crafting. So I put my heater on in my room and now I'm getting too hot. Okay, so this bit then goes right onto my card. And now I need my sentiment. So I've got another little piece of, what do you call that? Watercolour paper. And my happy birthday. I'm using happy birthday from the Sunshine Sayings stamp set. And I will use my Stampin' the Jig again to show you. So I'm just going to line that up. Pop my, it doesn't really matter because I'm going to cut it anyway, but I'll just show you. Now you can leave this, normally when you're using photopolymer, you use the black mat. When you're using a clear stamp, a clear mount, you can take that black mat away because it's got enough oomph in it, like height in it. And the other thing, you'll notice that I'm using my silicone mat, and that's just because I don't want to get everything else dirty. What am I looking for? Right in front of me. And I like using my Stamper Artist now because, especially with watercolour paper, because if it doesn't ink nicely the first time, I know that, well, that's inked really well, apart from being crooked, but I know that I can restamp it again without any issues, because there's no way on earth I would be able to restamp a clear mount red rubber stamp and get it exactly where I wanted it to be. It just would not happen. Right, now you'll have to excuse me because I am going to bring in something a little bit naughty. Okay, it's not Stampin' Up. So, shh, but it's just so handy. Okay, so I'm just going to trim this now. Try and trim that straightish. You know what? I'm just going to cut that off because I've stamped it crookedly. I'm going to line that up with the text instead. And I can do it that way too. See? And then when I trim these, everything will be nice and square again. Now, to blend this all together so that it's not stark, I am once again going to grab my sponge and give that a good sponging, and you can see that there is more than enough ink in that sponge. I don't have to worry about going and doing any more, dipping it in. And another little thing that you can do just to soften that a little bit, let me come in. So just to soften that up a little bit, I'm just going to grab my aqua painter again and just go over and around a little bit. Not completely over it, but just sort of around, just to give it a little bit of a dirty look as well. And then finally, all we have to do is pop on some dimensionals, and I have got these little mini ones. I'm actually going to put them close to the edge because, actually I don't know whether that's a smart thing. Because of the twine on the card, I sort of like it to be a little bit either side of it rather than exactly on it. So just get them off. Swing it around and stick it on, because I'm going to probably be using more birthday cards than thank you cards at the moment. So let me pull that back. Now the last thing to do is to use some of these gorgeous coloured, one's gone astray, gorgeous coloured little pearls that are also in the suite. What colour should I use? Should I do something different? Why are you... Oh, run away! I was just about to say, I wonder what the green ones would look like just for something a little bit different on the card. Maybe not. So those little cutters are awesome. They're just a really handy size. Okay, I think I might just do the light colour again. I used, when we went to card class, actually, 1, 2, 3, yep, I've got enough. We just used plain white ones, so you can use the little plain white ones, or you can use these pretty little pink ones. And I've just popped them on each of these little flower centres. Press them on fairly well. You do get an indent in your finger, but make sure that these little things are on nice and tight. And I'd usually try and like scoop underneath them so that we don't lose that adhesive that's on the back of them. Look at this, I'm so proud of myself. I have used all of the yellow. I've got one yellow pearl left, and now I've only got a couple of these little pale pink ones because I am on a mission to use what I have. So look at that, I've used 9 of them on my card. Overkill, but look how pretty they are. You can't not have them. So there is my Love What You Do card. Happy birthday. That is the last time I'm going to be making it because I have made quite a few of them. And just as a reminder, where have I put it? I've lost it. Oh, here it is. If you share my video, comment on my video, say hi. I have got a sparkle textured impressions embossing folder to pick to someone randomly. I can only post to Australia though, so apologies to our internationals, but you can definitely keep chatting with me because I love knowing where you're all from as well. So that is super pretty. There's my thank you. I quite like the smaller sentiment, I think, than the bigger one, but they're all very pretty. And, you know, you can go as dark or as light. As you can see, I've probably I have gone darker in my colouring than what I have here. But you can go back over and keep adding that colour until you get the depth that you want. But just having that little shadow underneath them really makes the flowers pop. So thank you very much for joining me. If you are watching the wedding tonight, have fun. I hope you've got your high tea and your tiaras and your whatever else parties that people watch. I won't be. I'll be curled up in the beanbag under my quilt, I dare say. So thanks so much for joining me, and hopefully this Thursday, we will be back into our regular time slot and not on the weekend. So thanks for joining me, everyone, and don't forget to share and comment and all that sort of stuff, and I'll pick someone random. Thanks very much. See ya.